Breaking news coming in, it's very grim news. 10-month-old baby Saanvi Venna has been murdered. That is what the FBI has said. The FBI for the last 4 days had been investigating the case of the abduction of Saanvi Venna. Remember, she was abducted from her apartment complex in Philadelphia after her grandmother, who was taking care of her while her parents were away, was murdered. And now the FBI says that baby Saanvi Venna is also dead. Mridula Chanduri, my colleague, in fact, has been tracking the developments from India. What has the FBI said about Saanvi's murder, Mridula?
Well, Saanvi was kidnapped from her apartment complex 4 days back on Monday, in fact, by a person named Raghu, who also lived in the same apartment building. We are told he's of Indian origin and possibly knew the family from at least as long as the Vennas moved into that particular apartment complex earlier this year. And what the FBI are telling is that he wanted to hold the child to ransom, and that is why, with that purpose, he entered the apartment building. And when the grandmother of the child, Satyavati, resisted the kidnapping attempt, he killed her and kidnapped Saanvi Venna. But then but later, until last night, in fact, the body of Saanvi Venna was recovered from the same apartment complex and stuffed in a suitcase. In fact, is what the FBI is telling us. And this person, Raghu, has been taken into custody. It is not yet clear when was Saanvi killed, or was it immediately after the kidnapping or after a few days, because it's been almost 5 days since the kidnapping happened. The autopsy is yet to be performed on the child, and we will get more details on how she was killed and when as well. But as of now, the FBI have cracked the case in terms of saying that it's a very tragic news coming from there, that Saanvi Venna has been killed and the suspect has been in fact arrested.
It's extremely bad news. Now this family has to deal with double grief, Saanvi's death and that also of her paternal grandmother. Any reaction yet from the family itself, Mridula?
They're completely distraught. Vanmaja, we were trying to contact the family back in Guntur district, where the extended family is staying, and obviously it has come as a huge shock for them, because after 5 days they were hoping for some good news. With no word coming by, they were hoping that at least Saanvi will be returned to them safe and sound, but that is not to be. So they are extremely grieved and in no position to even fathom this news that is coming from the US. We can only imagine how the parents are there living, staying in US. In fact, they had some idea what was happening, because what the FBI were also telling is that there were 10 copies of ransom notes found in the apartment where from which Saanvi was kidnapped, and so the parents were in fact aware that she was kidnapped for ransom, and obviously they were willing to pay the money. They told it was about $50,000 US dollars that were demanded as ransom, and that the kidnapper obviously felt that the family was well enough, had enough resources to meet this demand of ransom, but he seemed to have panicked and killed the child as well. So the parents are now in the US with the extended family. We are yet to ascertain if this person Raghu was acquainted with the Vennas from before, whether he was known to them back in India as well. Was he an acquaintance or a relative back in India? That part of the case is yet to be clarified by the police. They only said that this person and his wife used to stay in the same apartment complex and knew Venna since they moved into this building.
Headlines today is Gurmeet Sodhi also joins us now on the phone line from New York. She's tracking the developments in the US. Gurmeet, very unfortunate news. Now the FBI has confirmed that Saanvi Venna has also been murdered along with her grandmother. The motive prima facie seems to be that one of extortion, an extortion bid that went wrong. Gurmeet, if you can hear me, was this a kidnapping bid that went horribly wrong? Don't seem to have Gurmeet on the line at this moment. But Mridula, have you been able to gather a little more information about this man who was accused? Because a few inconsistencies seem to be still existing in the story. One, if this man wanted to get money in exchange of Saanvi, doesn't it seem curious that he did not touch any of the belongings, any of the valuables inside the house at the time of killing Saanvi's grandmother and kidnapping her?
Well, what we understand from the police is that it was not an attempt to kidnapping and theft. In fact, he had a very clear idea when he entered the apartment complex, and that was to kidnap Saanvi and hold her for ransom. That was a very clear intent of this particular person, is what the police there are, and then FBI there have clarified. So he had gone for the single purpose of taking the child and then seeking a ransom from the parents. So that is probably why we haven't seen any other displacement in the particular in the apartment. It was because the grandmother was resisted this attempt of his to kidnap the child that she got killed. She was in fact what we understand from the autopsy report of Satyavati was that she was stabbed somewhere on the neck and the chest, and
Okay.
she succumbed to her injuries.
Okay.
That is what that. So his intent was pretty clear that he wanted to kidnap the child and
Okay.
hold her for ransom.
Okay, Mridula, just stay on. Gurmeet, it seems, is back with us. Gurmeet, give us more details about what the FBI said, what they have discovered about the crime.
Well, what they said is the motive of this crime really they thought was only to ask for ransom and money. They found 10 notes there asking for $50,000. And the person that who kidnapped was not a family member, was not a friend. He only came to know the family maybe 6 months ago, not longer. He lived in the same apartment building as the Vennas did. So he was somebody who was, you could call a family friend, but not someone who knew them for long. But his motive was, since the family he thought was well off to do, he was going to ask for a ransom of only $50,000, and he killed the child for that.
All right, Gurmeet and Mridula, thank you both for joining us on that story. Very, very unfortunate news. So we, of course, have been telling you right here on Headlines today how Saanvi Venna was missing for the last 4 days. Her paternal grandmother murdered. The family was still hoping that at least Saanvi would be returned to them. That is not to be. Saanvi has also been murdered. The 10-month-old was murdered by someone who was known to the family.